All right, so earlier in this course, I mentioned that I've won at least 6 different scholarships, and this is where I'm going to put the money where my mouth is. I'm going to tell you about all the scholarships that I have won up to this point. So, the first amount of money that I've won towards my university tuition wasn't a scholarship at all. It was a local Chinese cultural garden said that they needed a new design for their flyer to advertise the new Lunar New Year festival that was happening. And the person who put up this idea, they said that they would pay up to $100 for whoever could make the best design. So I took out a bunch of color pencils. I was just a young high school student at the time, and I drew up a design of a rabbit holding a lantern. And I submitted that, and that won me my first $100 towards paying for my college tuition. So the main thing that I learned from this particular amount of money that I won is that searching for funding for university can come from anywhere. As long as you keep your eye open for all these opportunities, then it makes it easier for you to find more opportunities because you're now in the mindset of looking, of finding, of receiving funding. Now, the first actual scholarship that I won was my high school recycling scholarship. So I was just a regular member of the high school recycling club. And basically, I was the person who would go around wheeling a garbage can or a recycling bin. And I would pick up all of the old cans and bottles from each classroom as I went along the path throughout the high school. And for this particular scholarship, I just had to write an essay. There wasn't a minimum GPA for the scholarship, so the main lesson that I learned from this particular scholarship is that you should try to cut down on your competition as much as possible. This scholarship was only available for high school students at my high school that were in the recycling club. So just by applying, just find the confidence and the courage to apply and send in my essay, even though I didn't think it was very good at the time. I won the scholarship. I just had to put myself forward, and I learned how to look for scholarships that would reduce the external competition. One of the larger scholarships that I've won is the Berkeley Student Foundation Scholarship. The best thing about this scholarship is that it was a 4-year renewable scholarship. So it was $1,500 per year. So by the end of my time at UC Berkeley, I had won myself $6,000 towards my tuition. And the only real requirement for this scholarship is you had to meet a minimum GPA, and it was set pretty low. It was below a 3.0, if I remember correctly. And I had to write an essay, and I had to meet a minimum community service hour requirement. And I'll be going back to this particular scholarship later. There's something else I want to talk about regarding the scholarship, but to do that, I have to talk about another scholarship that I received. I also won the Eddie Windsor Scholarship, which was a 50% tuition scholarship to a coding boot camp of my choice. When I won this scholarship, I was ecstatic. This is a scholarship that I won simply by writing an essay. I didn't have to show proof of my salary, proof of my employment, or anything like that. They just kind of took everything that I said at face value, and I really appreciate them trusting me that much with just providing the information at face value inside my application. And this basically the scholarship I wanted just by writing an essay. But the really interesting thing is what happened after. So after I received this scholarship, I actually began my application process to a coding bootcamp. And part of that application process was to finish a small test that they give you on coding. So I studied really, really hard, and I finished the test really good grades. I only had one question wrong on the entire test, but this was after an intensive amount of full-time studying to get to that point. And after I finished that test, that wasn't the only thing I did. I started communicating with the other students and just chatting with them about whatever, anything, just to get the conversation rolling with my students, to get to meet who may be in the next cohort that I'm joining at this boot camp. And I think for that reason, because I was talking on these forums, I actually caught the attention of the CEO that was running this coding bootcamp. And she actually offered me a scholarship to pay for the remaining 50% of my tuition. And I'll be talking about that and the conversation that we had leading up to her offering me that coding scholarship later on in this course as well. The next scholarship that I won was a UI UX bootcamp scholarship. This was a 50% scholarship that I won for my sister. She had an essay already written and then she handed it to me, and I did a lot of editing and tweaking on it, and I handed the essay back to her and she said, this is really good. So she turned in my final draft of the essay, and as a result, I won her 50% scholarship, which was at an $8,000 value. The boot camp was for $16,000. I won her an $8,000 scholarship. The next scholarship that I'm talking about is my absolute favorite. This is the Officemax Back to School scholarship that I won. So for this scholarship, I had to write a very short essay on a teacher that I admire and why they are an amazing person, basically. It was a very, very short scholarship essay. I remember the word count was very limited. I think it was shorter than 500 words maximum for the scholarship. But with that short essay, which I will later talk about within my course, I won myself a printer. I won my high school physiology teacher a printer, a laptop, and a $500 gift card to Officemax. When he received that package in the mail, he said that this was the best package he has ever gotten in the mail in the past 30 years. And that made me really happy to see him receive all these things that he can use to help more students like me in the future. Now, earlier I said I would be going back to talking about this scholarship here, the Berkeley Student Foundation Scholarship. This was the renewable 4-year scholarship where I had to complete a certain number of community service hours every year. So the way that I completed the community service hours for this scholarship was by actually creating YouTube videos, teaching high school students about the different aspects of college life, teaching them how to navigate their classes, how to stay calm during their move from high school to university, just basic tips on how to college. So I made those YouTube videos, and those YouTube videos were sent over to the same high school physiology teacher who I won the printer, the laptop, and the $500 gift card to Officemax for. I sent those videos over to him, and he projected them on the big screen in his classroom to the students that come in every year. So in a sense, you never know how your network will expand. You never know how one opportunity will open up to another opportunity. You just have to find a way to make the connections. And this is one of the other reasons why this scholarship was one of my favorite ones. So those were all the scholarships up to date that I can remember off the top of my head that I have won up to this point. So hopefully that gives you some more information into some of the skills that I will be teaching you in this course. I'll be telling you about a lot of these scholarships. I've got the entire text from a lot of these scholarship essays written out, put into PowerPoint slides, and I'll be showing you some of these essays that I've written that have actually gone to win me scholarships in this course. And with that, I look forward to seeing you in the next lecture.